Happy video day, guys. So today I'm so excited because I finally got in the mail a NATASHA DENONA palette that I have been waiting for and I've been really excited for. So this is the brand new NATASHA DENONA Mini Zendo palette, a $25 mini from NATASHA DENONA. You guys know already, if you guys have been following NATASHA DENONA's line, she's been coming out with some pretty amazing eyeshadow palettes lately. And what I really have been enjoying is that her formulas have been so consistent, whether you're getting a midi size for $65, a mini for $25, or one of her larger palettes that she releases for like $125. And what I'm loving so much is that the formulas straight down the line have been so consistent lately. So today's video, what we're going to be doing is diving into the mini Zendo. So we're going to be talking about everything about the mini Zendo. I am going to be comparing it for you guys to the mini retro. I'm also going to tell you guys my make up your mind results. There's going to be a lot in this video. You guys will see how I created this eye look. We've got a lot to talk about. So if you guys have not done so already, I would love it if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the family. Let's go ahead and let's dive straight into this palette and let's go over all of the details. So let's talk about what you're getting when you purchase the mini Zendo. So for $25, you are getting 5 different shades. You're getting a variation between metallics. You're also getting some mattes in here. You are getting the standard NATASHA DENONA formula. I can 100% tell you that. You aren't getting a mirror, but I have been pretty happy with the component from NATASHA. I really like the layout. I like that you're not wasting too much space. I would love a mirror, but in reality, because of the shape of this, I'm happy it doesn't have a mirror because I don't really like long mirrors. To me, they're just annoying. So I actually really love the design of this. In the photographs, I don't think that this photographs as good as it should. That's because of this kind of bronze color that they added to it. I feel like it kind of washes out the colors inside in photographs. When you see this in person, it looks so different from the photographs. I honestly think that this looks a lot more beautiful in person than any of the photographs that she released. So if you guys are looking at the photographs and you're on the fence about it, I would definitely say if you can stop into a Sephora and actually look at it, I really feel like it looks so different. So I'm going to insert some daylight images so you guys can actually really see what this palette looks like. I feel like daylight images really show off the true colors of a palette. So if you guys hear Lexi screaming in the background, I'm so sorry, but I am not going to interrupt the toddler. She is entertained. And we're just going to leave it at that. If we see what Sephora is saying about it, it does say that it's an innovative bronze-inspired mini palette that lets you create perfectly flattering looks. It's free of parabens and it's vegan and cruelty-free. It has maximum color payoff with minimal effort, blending seamlessly, and it also says that it has 5 different eyeshadows. So you have a color called Stark, which is a shimmering dark cool burgundy, the color Bear, which is a matte pastel pink, the color Stripped, which is a shimmering warm silver, Daz, which is a shimmering coral with light bronze shift, and Uncovered, which is a matte dusty coral. So those are all of the colors that you're getting in here. So you are getting some metallics, some shimmers, and some mattes. So you're getting a nice variation. I feel like she really did do a nice variation in here. And I will say the color selection was actually pretty unique, and I don't think that the images gave this palette any justice. In reality, when I saw this in person and swatched it, I was like, wow, this is very beautiful. So when I did my makeup your mind, I was able to see how pretty this palette was by swatching similar colors in my collection. That's what made me say, I think you really need this because this is actually might be very pretty. So now that we've gone over all the details about the palette, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the review about it because we've been doing this lately. I've been jumping straight into the review instead of showing you the tutorial first. The tutorial will be at the end of this video. And let's also compare it to the mini retro because I know a lot of you guys were asking me, hey, what's the difference here? They look kind of similar. We're going to go over all of that. So let's start off with what I'm thinking about this palette. I love this. I think that this has created the most gorgeous eye look. I do have a few little things about it that I do want to share with you guys, but when it comes to these 2 mattes, I feel like the mattes blended effortlessly. Very beautiful mattes. I'm actually pretty shocked with how pretty this very light pink was. I thought that it was not going to show up on my lid, and I was like, well, this might be like one of those matte whites that you put on and it just doesn't show up at all. But I actually got a color payoff off of this. You guys will see in the tutorial portion how you actually do see a pink on my lid. I don't think it's a standalone color, but it is a very pretty color in this color scheme, and I think it worked really nice. This color right here here is very, very beautiful. I don't think I have many colors in my collection similar to this one. It has more of a coral tone to it, and it's a little bit deeper than I feel like I've seen in most coral tone shadows that I currently own in my collection. So I'm actually loving this color right here. I feel like it's super, super beautiful. So far the two mattes in here, gorgeous mattes. I think they blended effortlessly. When it comes to the metallics, this metallic tone right here, it's so pretty because it is very different. I feel like all the colors in here, this color right here was shockingly so different in my collection. And I told you guys in Make Up Your Mind, I had such a hard time finding like a brownish burgundy tone, and it is very true to that. It is a brownish burgundy. It is such a gorgeous color. So this color right here, I'm like in love with it. Now I will tell you, I did use this color on the outer edge to blend out this look and make it a little bit deeper. I don't know if it works the best as a deepening shade. It is a metallic tone. Typically, I wouldn't use a metallic to deepen out a look. However, I do feel like you needed a little bit more depth to this palette to kind of create like the looks that I like to do, to have a little bit more depth in a look. So I did use it on the outer edge, kind of like a deepening shade. It worked. I don't think it is the best way to use it. I think it probably would work the best just spread on the lid like a typical metallic, but it did do the job. It did have a little bit of fallout. This color, I think a lot of times anytime you use deeper shades, you're going to get fallout, but this one did have a little bit of fallout when you're working with a brush with it and trying to make it as a deepening shade. It did the job. It worked, but I do think it would work the best just spread on the lid. This color right here is a gorgeous silver. I do think that this color is similar to a color that's in the Glam palette, a tad difference, but on the lids, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell the difference. I'm going to show that to you when I talk about my Make Up Your Mind results, but I do think this is a beautiful, beautiful shade. I used it on the inner portion of the eye. This silver with the rest of these tones is gorgeous. Like literally, what a beautiful color combination. So this one right here, this tone is really, really pretty. The problem that I had with it is in studio lights, which obviously most of you guys will not be putting on makeup in studio lights, this color is very similar to your skin tone. So when you apply it, you start to see like the reflex, but you don't really see the pigment. But when I went under daylight and I looked at the application, it was all over the lid and it looked gorgeous. I do think this is a nice shade. I don't think it has as much punch as some of the other shades. I don't know if it's just the tone, but it's actually a really pretty color. And when I applied it and I really played with it and I looked in daylight, it looks really nice. It's probably the tone that people will not like the most out of this entire palette, which is a little bit of a shame because to me, it's just a gorgeous peach. And I wish it had a little bit more of a silky application like the other two. And I don't know, I guess I have to play with it a little bit more, but I think that this one right here must be more of a shimmery formula, whereas the color itself is a little bit muted, but then there's a lot of impact with the shine. So I'm going to play with this color a little bit more. I think it's a pretty color. I think it worked. And I think once the whole look is put together, it does show up pretty nice. This is the only one out of all these colors that I tried applying it different ways. So that's how I know that it gave me a little of a harder time. I used my finger to apply it and I felt like I wasn't sure if I was getting the maximum payoff from it. Then I used a brush and I felt like the brush was spreading it, but it needed more impact. So I sprayed my brush and I felt like there I was able to get the impact. But at the end, I felt like applying it with the finger and then spreading it with a wet brush really gave me impact. So that's why I know that that's the only one in this palette that gave me a harder time, because I had to try playing with it different ways. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is when it comes to a deepening shade, if you're somebody who like me who likes to deepen out outer edges, you have this tone that you can work with, but it is very coral. It's almost like to the point that you want a brown or you want something a little deeper to kind of help it out a little bit more. So you want to reach into this color, but like I said, it's a metallic and it doesn't look as great as a deepening shade. It does the job, but I feel like most people are going to want to jump into a matte. So I feel like even though this palette can be used on its own, I personally feel like I'm probably going to bring in another palette just to give it a little bit more help. That's just my personal opinion on it. It is very, very beautiful, but I do think that it needs just like a little bit of add-on. Like I feel like this one will work good with some of your other palettes. In reality, maybe this color right here should have been a matte in order to make this work perfect, but because I don't have this kind of color in my collection, I'm super happy it's a metallic. So That's where I'm going to stand on that. So I really like this and I love the formula. Now, when it comes to comparing it to the mini retro, I'm going to tell you guys at first, I honestly didn't think that these two looked alike. So yeah, so my mini retro is actually falling apart. Sometimes the Natasha Denona shades will disconnect from the pans. So if you guys see, I've got two that I need to glue back in here. And the minis don't have the magnet, so they're not meant to come out. So I wish that didn't happen, but I have had that problem with some of her palettes. So when I saw these two, so I'm going to try not to flip this too much, but when I saw these two palettes, I honestly didn't think that they looked that much alike. I actually thought that this looked like the deeper version of this one, like almost this is the sultry one and this is the more day one. They are a little bit more alike than I thought that they were. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the side-by-side comparisons of the swatches. So if you see them swatched together, you're going to say, well, I can see the difference between these two. They are very different because there is a difference in tone here. But like I always tell you guys, when you put things on the lid and you blend them together and you start to mix the tones, I do feel like there is some tones in these two palettes that when put on the lid are gonna look pretty similar. The first one being these two light pinks. If you guys will see them in the swatches, the two light pinks, they are different. The tone that's actually inside the retro, it seems even warmer than the one that's inside of the brand new palette. But when these two are put on the lid, I do feel like they're going to come off with a very similar idea. It's probably not going to be so much of a difference. I was actually shocked a little bit with these two silvers. I really thought that they were going to be very, very different. They are different. The one in the Zendo, a little cooler, looks a little bit more platinum. The one inside of the Red, a little bit more of a greenish shift to it. So they do have a difference. Like they're not exactly the same. But that being said, when they're put on the lid, I don't know if they're going to make a huge difference. So technically there's two shades in here that I think that they're pretty close. It would definitely be the two pinks. The two pinks that are definitely pretty close. This one here is the mini Zendo. This one here is the retro. So those two pinks are pretty close. The silvers are pretty close. When it comes to the metallic pinks, you guys can see that the one that's inside of the Zendo is a lot more peach and a little deeper, and the one that's inside of the retro is a lot more pink. So that one is going to make the most difference. Now, here's where it really switches up. They included like a greenish gray inside of the mini retro, which is what really changes up this look, is that deepening shade. And then if you look at the Zendo, the shade that they included for like a deepening shade would definitely be that coral, that deep coral. She changed the outcome of how these palettes will perform is by changing those deepening shades, making one like a greenish gray and the other one a coral. So there is where the difference really is going to lie, as well as the deep burgundy metallic, which is also going to make your looks very deep, whereas in the retro she included a little bit more of like a soft metallic pinky shade. So this one here is Zendo, this is retro, so you can see the looks are going to change up with those two shades. So is there similarities between the palettes? I think that there is similarity. Definitely when it comes to the blending shades and some of the pop shades, you are getting something similar. But I think when it comes to total outcome, she did change up the deepening shades and some of the pop shades to make them different. So in my personal opinion, I feel like if you have the mini retro, I don't think it's bad to buy the mini Zendo, because I do think that the way that she was able to switch up some of those shades are going to make your looks pretty different. And you may have like two shades that might look a little bit redundant, but some of those other deepening shades you definitely don't have, and they do really change up the look. So that's just my opinion on it. I mean, it just depends on if you want to have some tones that are kind of similar. That's where it would be completely up to you. In my opinion, if I use this one, I'm going to get more corally looking eyes. If I use this one, are going to look a little bit more on the green gray side. So they're definitely going to create outcomes that are different. Right now, I would say mini retro is more my style, but I'm really enjoying mini Zendo. So that could change. So those are my thoughts on the palette. I do think it's absolutely stunning. I definitely would recommend it. I think if you like those colors, it's definitely really, really pretty. So now that we've gone over that, now let's jump into my Make Up Your Mind results. And I want to show you guys, these are the results from my Make Up Your Mind. And like you guys know, every single time a brand new palette releases, I go ahead and look through my collection based off the swatches that they release to try to see if I can mimic the palette. That way I can decide whether I like the color story before I actually pick it up. And And these were the results of the mini Zendo. There's my swatches here, and there's the actual swatches of the Zendo palette that I did today. So you guys can see, I feel like I was able to see this pretty good. I feel like I knew what it was gonna look like. I'm not disappointed. One of the colors I was mostly excited for was this deeper burgundy-ish shade, and I really do think it's absolutely stunning, and I really honestly cannot wait to do an entire eye look just smoking that out all over the lid. So now that I've showed you guys everything, let's go ahead and let's get into the tutorial. 7 in the morning, woke up early so I can play with the mini Zendo for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are dying to know everything about this palette, so I definitely wanted to put it to the test. So I'm gonna try to use all the colors. I'm gonna jump into this color right here. I'm gonna put that all over the lid and use it like a base shade. Okay, I'm actually kind of shocked because I thought that that color might be like a throwaway color for me, like it might be too light, but it's actually showing up. Do you guys see that? You guys can see how it's showing up. I'm actually pretty shocked about that. I thought it was going to be way too light. But no, that's coming. Let's deepen out the outer edge with this color right here. This color right here, it kind of reminds me of like a terracotta. That's a nice tone. Hopefully that shows up good. Oh yeah. That's very pretty. Do you guys see how pretty that color is? Actually really nice. So far I can already tell that this is a little deeper than the retro, because this color right here, there is nothing like this tone in the retro, for sure. The first color, maybe, but this one, no. All right, what do we want to do next? So what I want to do next is I want to kind of deepen out the outer edge just a tad bit with this tone right here, which is one of the colors that I'm super excited for. This is like a, she called it like a burgundy, like a brown burgundy, and I don't have anything like this, at least from my Make Up Your Mind. I couldn't find anything similar to this in my collection, so I'm kind of excited for this color. I'm just gonna use a small brush to kind of see how this works. You have to like kind of pack on the color. And maybe it's because I'm using a brush and this is a metallic. And I know Natasha Denona's formula works best with your finger. Let me try putting on with my finger. It applies a lot better than a brush. And I'm already getting fallout with this shade. That actually worked pretty good. I'm actually shocked. That actually worked pretty good, but like I said, it does give you a little bit of fallout when you try to use it with a brush. A little bit. And it's not like 100% the most pigmented tone to like deepen out an outer edge, but it does work. This will probably look really pretty just like a top shade that you kind of like dab on top, and I think there it would probably have a lot more pigment than what I tried to do, but I just wanted to add a little bit more depth to the outer edge with that color, and I think it did it. It did it. It's probably not the ideal place to put it. So this one right here, I want to see how that one comes off. That's pretty. This one's applying a little bit more separated. You know how when sometimes you put on metallics and they're not as silky? Usually Natasha Denona I never use with a brush, but you never know. Better, but let me spray it. I think this shade works best with a sprayed wet brush. But I would say, like, I feel like putting it on with the finger first and kind of like getting it where you want it, and then using a brush. Maybe that's the trick. It looks nice. I don't know. I have to see it in daylight. Let's put the last color on. I want to put this one on in the inner portion of the eye. So I'm going to grab this tone right here. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it's a very pretty gray. Alright, let me just use, I'm going to use a little bit of this metallic tone on my lower lash line to kind of like finish this off and put it all together. I used every single one of the colors, and now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some mascara, finish off the look. I've got a lot of thoughts. So you guys probably already saw the thoughts because this is the tutorial portion, but yeah. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the look, show you guys the finished product. So guys, yeah, so this is the final look and I really, really like the way it turned out. Like I said, I really like this, and I will tell you, I asked my husband in the morning, what do you think of this eye look? And he said that it looks so pretty and he loved the colors together. So that's from somebody who is not into makeup at all, and he really loved it too. So just FYI, I think it's a really beautiful palette, and yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have not done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, join the family, and I'll talk to you guys later.